Ag Bioscience, the #1 ag tech podcast globally, is now available on video. Hear from leaders and innovators across food, animal health, plant science, ag tech, and agriculture. Mondays at 6 a.m. on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. While you're there, subscribe and leave us a review. It's the Ag Bioscience Podcast with Agronovis Indiana. Get more information at agronovisindiana.com.
Kristen, Dane. It's Boys Day here on the Pete the Planner Show. No girls allowed. Sorry, Kristen is living my worst nightmare right now. Dame, when she told us what she was doing, I wasn't offended because it's what she enjoys. So why would I be offended? But I was mortified.
Yeah, I don't know where she was going to attend this, but it seems like it might be a really, really bad time to go do what she's doing.
So she went to a music festival.
Yeah.
In what is basically new typhoon season here in Indiana.
Yeah. I don't know if she went north or I don't know what direction she headed, but I don't know if she's going to escape it.
Dame, do you have anyone in your life that when you see your phone light up with their caller ID, that they're calling you, that it really means something? You're really excited because they're I don't know how to say it. They're like an important person or like an influential person, or you really look up to them and you're just you almost get nervous when you see their name pop up on the phone. You have anybody like that?
For purposes of your story, yes, I absolutely do. And I love that person.
I love working with you. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a few people in my life that, like, when it pops up, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to talk to this person. So I got one of these calls yesterday. I'm mowing my grass. I get one of these calls. I saw the name pop up. And then you think, well, why is this person calling me?
Sure.
Right? Like, we're friends, but we're not like boys, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, this person has something to say. And I don't know why, but like, as I'm up, I'm like, okay. I gotta like collect myself, turn off the mower and answer it and go, hello. I'm thinking, I think this person is calling to tell me that they found out I'm a charlatan. Like, in my head, like, I'm not kidding, Dave. It was like real bad head garbage. I was like, I'm pretty sure, because I suffer from imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that. And this person's a really big deal. And I was like, today they're calling to tell me that they found out that I'm a charlatan. And so I say hello. We exchange weather pleasantries because we're from the Midwest. Sure. And then he starts in on what he's gonna say. Like, the topic is there, and it starts neutral, right? It starts like, oh my God, he's gonna find out that I'm a fraud. And then it just takes a different direction. It was fine. And I was just like, what was it about what I got going on in my life or my head or whatever that in the moment that this person calls, because formally when this person calls, this person usually calls me with an idea and I usually go, yeah, I'm in. And this time I thought he's calling to let me know he found out I'm a fraud.
So are you in on this new idea?
It wasn't an idea. It was a bit of news.
Oh,
which I'll tell you about after the show. Okay. But I wanted you to hear the story first. Hello, David. Hello, Quincy. Hello, Andy. I'm just showing off the new lenses here. I can read all of your names. Hello, Jenny, Rick Swink, John, and Jameson. Ooh. I need to change the color on those new graphics because I changed the background.
Today, I mean, who knows what it's going to be next week?
Oh, look at this! Look at this guy!
Whoa!
What?
Hardly working.
Oh my gosh! Hello, Ben. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. At least thanks for the click.
Was it Ben that called you?
No, Ben is one of those people, though.
I figured he was.
If Ben calls you, you pick up and you're like, I'm in.
Yeah.
He's Italian now, right? He works in an Italian company. He's Italian. Anyway, Dame, we got a good show today. I'm excited. We are without Kristen. That is not the exciting part. That is the part meaning that you and I are going to fumble around a bit until we find a point that then she will tell us next week is wrong, which is fine. Dame, I was in Southern Indiana and St. Louis this week, and I got to see my favorite animal in the entire world. I got to see 6 of them, and I was very excited. Now, this particular animal, I've never seen in person a live one. I always see them as roadkill.
Oh, no.
I had a counter. I was sending updates to my wife who was back in Central Indiana. I was like, saw another one, and they were everywhere. Do you know what I'm talking about?
You've never mentioned this before, but I am going to take a stab at it based on your geography. Armadillo.
The battle possum is correct. Armadillos are the greatest thing. And here's the thing. I am not an overly religious person, but I do have a relationship. God put armadillos on this planet to get hit by cars. I believe. I don't know. I'm not a biologist. What is the point of an armadillo other than getting hit by a car? Because I've never seen them contribute. They don't have jobs. They can't read.
How many other animals do you not like, Pete?
No, I love armadillos.
I know, but you just said their whole purpose is to get hit by cars because they serve no purpose. I'm just saying what other, cows obviously serve a very delicious purpose.
Yeah.
It just seems like there are a number of other animals you could pick on for this.
Wait a second. Long-time listener, David says, do not touch. Armadillos have leprosy. Dame, this can't be right.
Should I fact check this?
Pull it up, Jamie. Kidding. That can't be right.
Well, the first search, as I type in "do armadillos," the first search is "carry leprosy."
Oh, I thought you were going to say, do they know how to read?
Yes, certain wild 9-banded armadillos carry the bacterium Mycobacterium leprae, which it causes leprosy, Hansen's disease. However, the actual risk of a human catching it from an armadillo, very low.
This is a financial show. You say Hansen's disease?
Hansen ''S. Hansen.
That was like Chris Hansen's disease. Like, have a seat.
I thought maybe the band went wayward and the brothers created a disease.
Right back to Ben Battaglia watching the show today. He loves Hansen. All right. So Andy mentions that she thought we were in the wrong state. The fact that they're armadillos. No. Armadillos are moving north.
Yep.
This isn't a climate change thing. I don't know my really thing. Anyway, Dame, this is not only a financial show today, but it's such a financial show that I feel like I need to do this.
This is for information purposes only. This is financial planning device. Consult a financial advisor.
That human is a senior in high school.
Could you? I mean, a lot of people. I think you even did this. First day of school, last first day of school picks. Could she come in and re-record that so we could just have juxtaposition on what it was and hear the attitude that she probably just has naturally?
Well, to be the most on brand that she would absolutely refuse to do it.
Oh, that makes sense.
Now, just like that.
Yeah.
I know that actually, you know what? Maybe I'll try to convince her. I'll have to dangle an Alani or something in her face to get her to do it.
If you said Kristen wanted her to do it, would that make a difference?
Possibly. It'd probably Molly.
Yeah.
All right, let's do the show. Oh, the topic today is the S&P 500 isn't what you think it is. Oh, I got to get
your calculator.
Dane, by the way, thanks for tuning into the soccer live stream last week, and you got to see my true pleasure in life.
It was just exactly. If everybody's wondering about what that looks and sounds like, is exactly what you think it looks and sounds like.
But I think the funniest part is, to me at least, we all know each other here. Yeah. We got this whole people who are in the podcast and the thousands and we all know each other really well. And so when you say it is what you think it is literally that. The funny part is all of these other parents and families that are the stream is for, they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. And that's the funny part, because they just look at me like my head is falling off. And I'm like, I can't help it. It is a bit of a disease. It is armadillo leprosy. In 3, 2, 1. This week on the Pete the Planner Show, we answer your money questions. Here's how the show works. You email us, ask Pete at PeteThePlanner.com. That's Ask Pete at PeteThePlanner.com. And what we have is a show. It is financial-ish. And today we're going to talk about the S&P 500. It is a phrase you hear all the time. You either know what it means, you think you know what it means, but most likely you don't really know what it really is. And today we're going to talk through that. I'm joined by my longtime co-host, Damian Dunn. Damian, hello.
Good day.
Kristen Elanius is on sabbatical at a music festival.
May dry weather follow her wherever she goes.
Mini Christmas. All right, Dame. So before we get going, we are going to talk investing a lot today. And so I do need to hit with the classic disclaimer.
This is for information purposes only. It's not the Swiss financial planning device. Consult a financial advisor.
All right. So, Dame, let's begin. When people talk about the market, they typically talk about, they mean the stock market and they mean equity markets. And oftentimes, because it's 2026 and not 1961, they're talking about the Standard & Poor's 500 index as opposed to the Dow Jones Industrial Averages. So let's start there. Dame, the S&P 500, it in many people's minds is representative of the market.
Yeah, for better or worse, the S&P 500 gets the tag of go-to benchmark, thermometer, whatever you want to say. When they think the market, they say, well, what's the S&P 500 doing, or anything like that? Because frankly, it's got a lot of the same companies that most people are familiar with on a name-by-name basis. It's the most relatable for the average person. If you start looking at some of these other indexes, and other than the Dow Jones, Russell 2000, or it starts getting pretty broad, and the size of the companies may change pretty significantly. So when you're thinking about getting a gauge on how things are doing, the big headline stuff, the S&P 500 comes up as the default 99.9 times out of 100.
When I think about the market, I personally think about the S&P 500. That is me. Dame, when you think about the market, do you think of an index?
Yeah, S&P 500. Was there a point in your life, Pete, when Dow was the index that you thought, same for me. And I didn't know if that was just me being weird or if maybe that transition's actually happened during our professional lifetime. Because starting out, Dow was the one that I looked for, and I didn't think as much of the S&P 500. That is completely flipped, and I barely pay attention to the Dow.
Here's the weird part about that. If I look at the market and I just kind of look at the three indices, that the Dow, S&P, and the NASDAQ. I look at them, and then I think to myself, oh, the market was up 800 points today. I'm talking about the Dow, but I actually don't care about the Dow whatsoever. And so as it relates to investing, though, not just reading what the market is doing, but in terms of investing, the S&P 500 is absolutely, I'm going to call it the gold standard. I'm just going to call it is the litmus of what is a person to do with their money. And I think there's some elements I want people to understand today. And the whole show is about this today. Number one, despite popular belief, it isn't simply the 500 biggest American companies. It is meant to be filled with large cap stocks. Okay, so large capitalization stocks, which has sort of a moving target of what is considered a large cap. And maybe Dame will track that, Uncle Dame will track that down for us of what is considered a large cap these days. But it is, they have to satisfy certain eligibility requirements, including they have to be U.S. domiciled, they have to be a certain size, they have to have a certain amount of liquidity, and then there's something called public float and financial viability in order to be in the S&P 500. And then the other fun fact with this is the funniest part, there aren't actually 500 companies in here. Actually, there are 500 companies. There's not 500 stocks. There's 503 stocks in the S&P 500. Dame, kind of a mind-blowing idea there.
Yeah, I mean, not quite bait and switch, but if you were to tell me, it's kind of like the Big Ten, I guess, at this point. No, there's not 10 schools in that conference anymore. There's, I don't even know how many there is. 18,
I don't either.
20, it doesn't matter, but a lot. So, 500, 503, who cares? But when we're talking about large companies, large cap, and by today's definition, that's a market cap of 10 billion or more. Market cap is simply outstanding shares multiplied by the current share price. So if you cross that $10 billion threshold, you technically qualify as of today as a large cap stock.
Dave, okay, we need to pause here because that is, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. That's so much lower threshold than I would have thought in 2026. Now, there are multiple trillion-dollar companies out there. I think there's not a lot, a handful, but there's a lot between 50 and a trillion. And so there's a lot to choose from for this particular index.
Yeah. And it's only going to keep growing, which is probably why the definition changes over time a little bit to make sure that it doesn't become watered down by being too inclusive on the size of companies that's in there. But 10 billion as the floor is somewhat surprising to me.
The other element of this that makes sense once you think through it a bit is that the S&P 500 is what's called a float adjusted market cap weighted. Okay. So if company A is worth $4 trillion and company B is worth $40 billion, meaning that it at one point was a large cap and kind of fell down. Company A has roughly 100 times the influence on the S&P 500 index as company B. So that is to say, owning the S&P 500 isn't the equivalent of putting $1 into 500 different companies. Instead, what you're actually saying is give more of my money to the companies that the market currently values the most. And that is both the power and the danger of the S&P 500.
Yeah, two things here, just to get people up to speed. Float is, in general, very basic terms, the number of shares that are available to be traded by everyday folks like you and me. So when they hear float, that's what we're talking about. And then I think it was, it was a week or two ago, we had that story about our index funds just feeding themselves, like feeding the big players on this. And this is the concept that we're talking about right now, is that your contributions to an S&P 500 fund aren't equally weighted. Now, they do have equal weighted S&P 500 funds where they do get divvied up proportionally, equally. But right now, when you contribute to a broad market index like the S&P 500 in general, you're giving more of your money to the bigger players, making them even bigger.
Do you remember back in the day when you sort of first got in the financial business, or even when you were a kid and you kind of were aware of what's going on financially? You hear about the blue chips.
Sure.
I got blue chips. Oddly enough, the blue chips aren't the blue chips anymore. It's a completely different mix of what's in the S&P 500. So as of June 30th, right, the biggest names in the S&P 500 include NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, which is Google, Broadcom, Micron, Meta, and Tesla. Now, Dame, call me old-fashioned. 20 years ago, all of these companies wouldn't even sniff the S&P. They'd all be in the NASDAQ.
Totally. Yeah, they would have been on a completely different index. And I guess they all probably existed 20 years ago, but it's been a complete reversal on what we've experienced in the past.
So this entire show is dedicated to help you understand the S&P 500 a little bit more. You think about it, you talk about it, you react to it, but understanding it is really, really important because it will impact how you invest around it. So that's what we're doing today on the Pete the Planner Show right after the break. More of this. We'll be back. This portion of the program is brought to you by NeighborServe. If you happen to be, well, anywhere in the country right now, the weather is wild, hot and rainy and windy and spinny. I think it's tornadoes. It is a very, very dynamic time for weather to impact you and where you live. In fact, yesterday afternoon, I was out doing yard work, and I saw 3 or 4 things that I have to fix because of this weather. Previously, when I encounter something like that, I'd just do nothing. I'd be paralyzed, and the problem would get worse. But I am a client of NeighborServe, Home Concierge by NeighborServe. I just call them. In fact, I text them. I just text them. I'm like, hey, shingle off. Just like that. No step. Hey, shingle off. And then they take care of it from there. They have the trusted pros. They know what contractors to go to. They vet them. They're not getting paid by these folks. This is the best way to manage your own home. I swear by it. NeighborServe.com/Pete. Do what I'm doing. You get a free month. Like if you go to NeighborServe.com/Pete, you will experience exactly what I experienced. You'll be able to text a human, shingle off, and your life will be better. That's NeighborServe.com/Pete. Call them. Get via text today. Dame, sorry. I was hi. I'm back.
It's fine. I mean, it's not NeighborServe.com/Pete. It should be NeighborServe.com/shingle off. I think that should be the new one.
Dame, I had a little bit of an incident at the soccer fields last weekend that I wanted to talk to you about, and not my proudest moment.
Oh no.
But I feel like I'm self-aware enough to, at least when something goes a little haywire, I've been willing to admit to it. So I am standing by a trash receptacle in Creve Coeur, St. Louis, Missouri. And trash receptacle in St. Louis, Missouri in early August is going to be filled with what?
Smelly trash.
And what is attracted to sticky, sweet, smelly trash?
Bees.
One could say armadillos, bears, but the answer is bees.
Yeah.
And so I'm there and I kind of back away from that area because it turns out, Dame, I'm deathly allergic to bees.
Is this a new development?
I mean, it's within 50 years that this has happened to me.
Oh, wow. Breaking news.
No, I get stung. It's not a good thing. It is a very bad thing. And yet, go ahead, comments. I don't carry an EpiPen. Okay.
Oh, somebody has a death wish.
Well, no, my wife hides it because my life insurance is intense. And so I'm off away from this trash can, and this bee is all around me. Now, at times I have learned to ignore the bees.
Mm-hmm.
Just ignore them. They're not going to bother you.
Mm-hmm.
This one's aggressive. And this one's feeling like it's going to do some work, right? And I don't mean like pollinate. I mean, try to kill me. And so I've got like a shirt thing, towel, whatever. I got some cloth in my hand. And so I'm like, take this thing out.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was isolated. I didn't see its back up or anything like that. They're not reinforcement. So I go to kill it. Go to kill it. This woman's walking by. She said, "Hey, don't kill that bee." And I was like, I just ignored her. Like, I'm not trying to engage. I'm just trying to not die.
Sure.
So I swing in. She goes, "Hey, do you want the whole planet to starve?" And I was like, I kind of just looked at her, and it wasn't like a bad look on my face. I was just like, what? She's like, "If you kill the bees, then we don't eat." And I said, "Ma'am, if this, ma'am, if this bee stings me, I could die." She goes, "If you kill that bee, we could all die." And I said, ma'am, if this bee stings me, it will die because it will sting me and it will die. So either I die or the bee dies, but either way, someone's dying and I'm not dying today. And she's like, I think you're taking this a little too far. And at this point, I'm thinking, I'm like, how am I taking this too far? It is trying to kill me and it would die when it killed me. And then she's thinking about like pollination. I don't even know. And I was like, am I in an argument at a soccer park over my allergy to bees?
I'd like to say it's surprising.
I was all fired up.
Did you kill it?
I don't even know what happened to it. There it is. No. My favorite joke I used to tell on stage when I would do a lot of keynotes. I've since been blackballed from the industry. One day I was headed to do a keynote and I checked the mail at our old offices, like near my neighborhood.
Okay. Yeah.
And out of the mailbox, open it up. Some bees flew out of the mailbox because they must have come in like a back slit or something like that. And so that happened. It was like, So I went to do my my gig. And when I was like, oh, it's good to be here with you today. I'll tell you, this is going to be the best part of my day because my day started off pretty rough. I was checking my mail today and opened my mailbox. Some bees flew out and it scared me. And now I spent the last 90 minutes trying to figure out who mailed me bees. And I think that's the funniest joke. And no one would ever laugh. And I'm like, I love that joke so much. And no one would ever laugh.
Yeah, well, as long as you're laughing and you don't mind quiet, it's fine.
Oh, I don't mind quiet at all. I will fill it with my words. Oh my gosh. Andy says this is why she doesn't like going out in public. By the way, I gotta change the graphics. We did it on the fly. We got into the room here today. I was like, Dame, I don't like the way this looks. And I didn't change everything.
What happened now?
What do you mean what happened? Well, no, like when we pull up someone's name, they got the green.
Just the green.
I don't like it. Gotta fix it. Okay. Let's do the show. 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner Show. Talking the S&P 500. That's Standard and Poor's 500. That's not to say if like your financial situation's standard or if you're a poor. No, it's called the Standard and Poor's 500. People don't really understand it. They think you can invest in it, which in fact, it doesn't exactly work that way. But let's start, Dame, if you will. Let's talk about what it's made up of today and why that mix creates some opportunities and challenges for people.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, in the last segment, we just talked about some of the biggest names in the S&P 500. They are all, if memory serves, pretty focused on the sector that they sit in. They are all technology companies. There are a number of sectors that comprise the S&P 500. In general, real estate, materials, utilities, energy, consumer staples, healthcare, industrials, consumer discretionary, communication services, financials, and information technology. Pete, what percentage? I know you know this, but I'm going to just ask anyway. What percentage of the S&P 500 is made up of those huge information technology companies?
Here's what's weird. You just named 12, 15 different industries. Yeah. So if you want to just like go, well, what would make sense is if 10, let's say there was 10, each got 10%, that would actually make sense. But by the nature of how this thing goes, once something becomes overweight, it doesn't self-correct. Like you and I'm going to answer your question, but Dame, you and I, when our portfolios, I did it this week. When our portfolios get what's called overweight, we can rebalance them. That means we wanted something at 5% allocation. It does well, so it swells to a 10% share of our portfolio. We take the gains, reinvest them somewhere else, and then you're back down to 5%. The S&P 500 doesn't do this. So I would think, you would think information technology maybe eats a quarter of the allocation, and it was, I mean, theoretically supposed to be 10% based on these words I'm making up, but 25% sounds right.
Well, you would be wrong. It's closer to 38% right now. Now, that's a lot for, I mean, when we're talking about diversifying somebody's portfolio and making sure that your eggs aren't all in one basket, if we're going to go back to that, 38% is a pretty heavy weight. If we turn the way back clock, Pete, to 1980, do you want to guess what the biggest sector in the S&P 500 was in 1980?
That's a great question. All right, so let me think. I'm going to give a couple possible answers, and then I'll land on one. Energy. IBM was what? Was it technology? I guess it's technology.
It'd be technology. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go energy. You could go like defense contractors. I don't know. It's about to be the Reagan administration. I'm going to go energy.
You're right. It was energy. It was 28.2% of the S&P 500. So having one sector, what I would consider significantly outweigh some of the other sectors, is not unusual. It just happens, especially as trends start to appear in our economy and our market. It's going to feed itself for a little while. Now, as you said, self-correcting doesn't happen very often, and it usually takes some big macroeconomic influence outside of that to really start shaking things up. But I obviously have always stayed that way. I mean, right now, energy is 3% of the S&P 500 in today. It went from 28% nearly 50 years ago, yikes, to 3% today. So this is not a static allocation inside of the S&P 500. It is very dynamic based off of what the market or the economy inside of the United States is doing by itself.
What I think is interesting, and you kind of touched on it, is how is our economy changing? Mm-hmm. What sort of jobs are onshore, offshore? What are people selling? Are they selling information? Are they selling convenience? Are they selling something material? And, you talk about the Industrial Revolution sort of changing the world. The information revolution is changing the world. And I really don't want to get into AI today. I'm lots of reasons, but yeah. It's really hard to argue that with AI, the information technology allocation of the S&P 500, it's hard to argue that it's not gonna just stay as high as it is, if not go up.
Yeah, I can't conceive of something that's going to change that dramatically, short of just an all-out, some technological revolution or something that says this is the wrong way to go and we've got to abandon our path. But I think it's completely short-sighted of us to say that it's going to be like this forever as well. I think there's got to be something that we don't see today. We can't imagine. We can't fathom. It's going to swoop in, and change the complexion of what the American economy, if not the world economy, looks like. We just don't know what that is or what the timetable is going to be. So this is what it is today, but the S&P 500 will change to meet whatever the reality looks like.
That's the complexity of this whole idea, is that you own 500 different businesses by being invested in the S&P 500. 38% of those businesses, so what's that going to be? Almost 200 companies, somewhere between, but almost 200 companies are in information technology, which that's a really high concentration. So very diversified, yet somehow, some way, wildly concentrated.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of the beauty of the S&P 500 is, no, you don't have all your eggs in one basket. You are diversified, but your money is very concentrated in, just so happens that it's going to be technology today. So as things are moving along, doing okay, then you're going to be just fine if everything works out that way. But if we have a big pullback like we had in early 2000s, we had that tech bubble. I don't know if you remember that, Pete. It was kind of a trying time. The S&P 500 is going to take it on the nose. It's absolutely going to get smacked.
I didn't want to do this, but I'm here.
Okay.
Back to AI. So here's the thing. I really don't. I just don't. I'm so sick of it. In the tech bubble that was 1999, is that what we're going to call it? Ish.
Yeah. Sure.
Fascinating time, right? Tech was the driver of the market, flying high and then popping and some downward movement. I would argue that the product wasn't data at that time. It was a service. Like it was pets.com.
Yep.
It wasn't about your data. It was about you getting a Chewy toy sent to you for your armadillo. Now everything is data. Like even, and oh God, why am I doing this? You hear all the news and the hubbub and the whatever about like flock cameras.
Yes.
The tech, they're not selling video. They're selling data.
Yes.
And so that is why what we're actually talking about here with information technology, we're in many respects, what we're talking about is the market is sky high. Some would say overvalued because of data. And that's the difference from the tech bubble from 1999.
Yeah. And data will always have value. If it's usable and it's sellable, then there's always going to be a market for it.
Gosh, how did I'm with my friends. Last time I was walking with a buddy and I was like, can we just not talk about AI today? Like, I'm just so sick of it. And they bring it up in the one domain I do have control over, which is this, since Kristen's not here. All right, coming up after the break, neat. We taught you some trivia. We gave you some cocktail conversation. Well, what does this actually all mean for your money? That's what we'll talk about next, right here on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. Okay. Do you have data center takes?
Nothing that is refined enough to where I would make the comment in a public forum.
I assume you feel the same way about flock cameras?
A little more strongly about flock cameras, but nothing that I see both sides of the argument on that.
Yeah.
But in general, not a fan, which should surprise nobody.
Yeah, that is not surprising. The interesting part is there are things that a majority of Americans agree on.
Yes.
And this feels like one of them.
Yep.
Dame, I feel like you roughly understand my drive from my home to work.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Yep.
But I have to take back roads right now because the main thoroughfare, which we've all been up a bazillion times, is sort of shut down. So I kind of take some back roads, and you've driven them too.
Mm-hmm.
There are 6 flock cameras from my home to our office on a 9-minute journey.
High crime area you live in.
The interesting part. Yeah. No, we're not gonna hit a back down just like that. I don't want to say I don't know what I think about flat cameras, but I see the value to some degree. Like I really do see like the policing value, but I think it is sort of your ultimate point that you've had for 50 years, but at least the last several years, it's just like, not just a little too much government, a little too much overreach there.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we've got to the point where more than the camel's nose is in the tent at this point, and we're not going to back it up.
Geez, that got dystopian. I thought Danza said the seedy underbelly of camel.
No, caramel.
She said caramel. Okay. Because I was like, wow, her and Dame are really two humps on the same camel there. All right. Dame, what are you doing this weekend?
Finishing off that arc that I've been building in my backyard for the last, with all the down trees that I've got. I had planned on going golfing with my son. That is probably not going to happen.
I'm off to another Midwestern city.
You don't say.
For some ball kicking.
Another broadcast?
Yeah, I mean, weather permitting. I did add some new graphics this past week to the stack, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty excited about that. Okay, great. Let's do this. Okay. Who's lifting this one? You or me?
I don't know. We can probably muddle our way through it.
3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show. Just keeping you company while you drive around on flood-strewn roads in central Indiana. All right, we're talking the S&P 500. You've heard the S&P 500. You might have a S&P 500 index fund in your 401k. You watch the nightly news. The S&P 500 rose 47 points today as lawmaker, blah, blah, blah. You hear it. Oh, I'm in the S&P 500. Well, Dave, let's just start with the S&P 500 is a measure of what is going on. And so it is sort of it's on paper. It is these 500 companies, we're going to add up their values and they go up and down over the course of the day. That it's just a list of companies. You can't actually invest in the S&P 500. You can invest in S&P 500 index funds, but the index itself, you don't invest in it. Can you say this better than me?
Probably not, but in general, these companies aren't sitting around the world's longest boardroom table on a week to week basis trying to decide what's going on with the S&P 500. It is a list. It has rules on who can be in and who gets kicked out, and so you are buying the list is what you're doing, and the performance is allocated back to the list based on the performance of those companies that are included. And you're either rewarded or you see your value go down a little bit based on that. So it's not quite as straightforward as most people think, but it's fine for the average person.
It is directionally appropriate. And I say that in the sense of like, if you're listening to the show, like, oh, I'd actually like exposure to those companies. I'd like to own those types of companies. Then you would go find an S&P 500 index fund. And by the way, there's a lot of them.
Oh, yeah.
And somehow they're different. And that's the weirdest thing is like these investment policies around them. The expenses are different. Their hold strategy is different. Some even do little rebalancing features, which then it starts to say, well, is that a passive investment or is it an active investment? The idea of the S&P 500 is by definition, other than companies being added and subtracted from it, it is a passive idea. And so when it starts being manipulated or leveraged, it gets a little spooky.
Yeah, I don't care for active, we'll call them active S&P 500 funds because that's not the point.
No.
I'm just trying to invest passively in an index because money managers have a hard enough time trying to beat indexes as it is. So let me just have the index, take away the extra couple hundreds of basis points, your couple extra basis points that you're throwing on there, and we'll call it a day. If I want an active fund, I'll go out and I'll find one and I'll pay that manager to overperform the index once every 5 years and I'll be happy about it.
Boy, that was pointed. Yeah, let's talk about this for a second. And I think this is where this should clear some things up for people. The S&P 500 is a large cap. We're going to call it a fund, an investment. It's a large cap idea. If what we're talking about, these concentration risks and sort of these runaway allocations, if these are like, I don't like that, great. For your portfolio, go get another large cap fund. Like that it is meant to, so within modern portfolio theory, there's some different categories: large cap funds, small cap funds, international funds, bonds, these sorts of things. The S&P 500 theoretically is one piece of the pie, and the piece that it is satisfying is the large cap, large capitalization, large company funds. That's that. It is not a diversified portfolio. It does not take a look at emerging markets and small cap funds and international. It is U.S. large cap companies. And so, Dame, if people are hearing this today, they're like, I don't know. Great. It doesn't matter. And I would also argue that when people don't know what to invest in, sometimes people are like, just go S&P 500 index and you're good to go. No, you're not. because it's not even diversified.
No, you're leaving a huge segment of your options on the table when you do that. If you think about the S&P 500 is just simply one small piece of the economy, why would you limit yourself to that? It happens to be some of the most familiar names that you've got, and they react to certain circumstances in the economy way different than what a small cap company would, or a small cap index. And when they recover and when they go down and when they show their weakness, completely different. And so in order to have a diversified portfolio, you can't lean into one fund like that. The S&P 500 can't be the one-stop shop for that. Now, it is often the cornerstone for a lot of people's portfolios, and they build around that just because it's easy to understand, it's cheap, and it's historically really, really good. But you need to have other flavors inside of your investing portfolio to make sure that you have a better long-term experience in your returns.
This is for information purposes only. It's not the Swiss financial planning device. Consult a financial advisor.
It had just been a little while since we did that.
That's true.
And I also hit it because I have a ton of S&P 500.
Yeah.
Right. Like but here, let's go to NVIDIA for a second. 2 years ago, no one knew how to pronounce it. 2 years ago, no one even knew what it was.
Yeah.
Right. At one point, it was a small cap. And so if it's like, and again, if you bought a mutual fund or an index fund back in the day in which NVIDIA was part of it because it was a small cap, it would have turned over out of that fund because it was no longer a small cap. Like it would have gotten, sorted out. However, the other way to look at this is individual equities, holding individual equities in a stock portfolio. If you think about it through that lens and you don't think of funds, you would have some large cap stocks, individual stocks. You'd have some small cap stocks. And if you owned NVIDIA as a small cap stock, you're not going to just get rid of it. You would let it go through the portfolio. If you want the most growth possible, those small cap funds, when NVIDIA was worth nothing, owning it then and letting it climb to this large cap, that's the way to go. To your point, Dame, of large companies behave a certain way. Good, bad, but the behaviors of the other categories, international, emerging markets, these sort of things, they matter a lot. And when you just go, S&P 500 till the day I die, you will die, and it may not be the best idea.
Yeah, which as we start talking and branching out into what diversification really means for your portfolio, at the same time, if you're working with an advisor and you have a genuinely diversified portfolio, you can't benchmark it against the S&P 500. You can't, because that is not representative of what your portfolio looks like. If you've got 5 or 6 different asset classes inside of that portfolio, you can't compare it to just one small subset of the American economy. That's not fair to that advisor and the work that they're doing, or to you and your portfolio and its performance.
That's a really good point I hadn't really thought about, because S&P 500, I've said on this show, one of the best ways to measure your financial advisor is to see how they do in relation to the market. And so what we're saying now is that you must measure your advisor against a wildly concentrated portfolio that spins out of control from a weight standpoint.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense, does it?
It really doesn't make any sense.
No,
So I'm sitting here regretting words I've said.
Well, I mean, as we start to wrap this segment up, if you do work with an advisor and you haven't discussed what your benchmark actually is, it's a really great conversation, because it might give you a different perspective on how your advisor is performing if they're choosing investments for you, and give you a little bit of peace of mind that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Don't compare it against something that's not rational to compare it against.
Gosh, that's such a great takeaway. I mean, compare your large cap fund against the S&P 500 if you want, or your large cap holdings, but don't do the whole thing.
Yeah.
Good point, Dame. Look at you. What are you, a certified financial planning practitioner?
Well, allegedly.
Allegedly. Well, anyway, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. And coming up after the break is a biggest waste of money of the week, inspired by my soccer carpool 14-year-old boys came up with this one. That's next on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. They were very excited last night that this might be the show. On the show.
They suggested it.
They brought it up, and then I said, hey, Ted, because Ted kind of knows, what do you think about this? And he was like, you have to shout us out. And I'm like, I will shout you out, but just so you know, none of them, including you, will ever hear it. But I guess I'll play this for them next week.
Does he not know that we talk about his soccer team regularly?
He has no idea. The parents do, the ones that listen. It's, well, you know, whatever. It's your life. You know, it's like, I do like when my daughter being a senior, I have to admit, I do see this nasty end in sight of what has been my social life through my children.
What do you mean nasty end? This sounds like a dream come true for you.
One would think, but it's like an after school special. I'm like, I don't need any friends. And then it's like, friends make the world worth living. And then the friends going to do something else. And I'm just like, I don't know.
Jump cut to you on the porch in a rocker, just watching the world go by.
Reading emails from the HOA that I'm in violation of something.
Yeah. Maybe that's what you do. Maybe you join the HOA board and you just walk around and talk to people about what they're doing wrong.
If you think about like curmudgeonly old folks that just join the HOA and make everyone's life miserable, they're just former soccer parents that lost friends.
That could be it. That could be the connection.
It's the circle of life. Okay. Let's do it. Boy, this is one heck of biggest waste of money of the week. Oh boy. All right. 3, 2, 1. This week's biggest waste of money of the week right here on the Pete the Planner Show is the Gorilla Couch. This particular biggest waste of money of the week was inspired by my soccer carpool, Ted, Ben, and Xander. All right. Here we go, boys. Transform your living space into an exotic retreat with the Gorilla Couch, a one-of-a-kind masterpiece that combines bold aesthetics, plush comfort, and exceptional craftsmanship. Designed for those who dare to be different, this oversized luxury couch resembles a majestic gorilla. Bringing an element of wild elegance and fun into your home, whether you're a collector, a pop culture enthusiast, or simply looking for a unique statement piece, the Gorilla Couch is the perfect blend of style and functionality. Now, inevitably, Dame, the questions are coming, and they are, how big is this thing? All right.
How big is this thing?
It is 6 feet tall.
Oh my gosh.
6 feet deep.
Oh.
And 7 feet wide. It is massive. It is massive. I'm trying to see how much it weighs. Gosh. All right, Dame. How much does the Gorilla Couch cost? Actually, I'm going to find another shot of it here. As you're guessing here, I'm going to give you a different shot of it.
I mean, do we even know if that's real gorilla hair or fur or whatever
that's
gorillas
actually a
have?
really fair question. All right. Look at these shots of people sitting in the Gorilla Couch. Can you see them?
Yeah. Thing is huge.
How much is the gorilla?
That's going to be $30,000.
Oh, it's a killer guess. It's a steal at $4,800 for a Gorilla Couch. Now, here's the other thing. Once you get into it, there's also the monster gobbler's bed, the dog couch, an avocado hug chair. There's all sorts of things. But anyway, shout out to my carpool. Boys, keep up the good work.
I'll be looking for that next time I go to Restoration Hardware.
Dane, what is in the news this week?
Federal government just posted its biggest monthly budget deficit in more than 5 years. The U.S. ran a $432 billion deficit in July, meaning the government spent $432 billion more than it brought in. That's how the deficits work. The largest monthly shortfall since March of 2021. Some of that jump was a calendar quirk, with about $99 billion of August benefit payments going out early. But even after adjusting for that, July's deficit was 18% higher than a year ago. And here's the bigger number. Through the first 10 months of the fiscal year, the deficit already reached nearly 1.8 trillion, which is more than the government ran for the entire 2025 fiscal year. And there are still 2 months to go. Higher spending is part of the problem. Tariff refunds also reduced revenue. The CBO now expects the deficit to reach about $2.1 trillion in the year of your Lord 2026.
Boy, we really set you up there, huh?
Yeah.
You have feelings about these things?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any truth to the rumor that a good chunk of that was due to purchasing flock cameras, but it could be.
How in the world? I saw something the other day of like, it was in the Clinton administration. We had like the balanced budget and like that ship has sailed, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how do we ever come back from this?
Drastic spending cuts. That's the only way that this gets back under control. And we tried that kind of with identifying areas. Now you can debate whether or not that was genuine on that attempt, but what we saw was the we'll call it reluctance to really start saying, yeah, we're going to take this seriously.
Yeah, I'll go with you on this one. Doge was theoretically an attempt to do that.
Correct.
Was it thoughtful? Was it sincere? I think that's what people can debate, right? Actually, I don't think thoughtful is debatable. Yeah, boy. You know, you and I live in the land of numbers. You and I have seen these types of numbers for a very long time. For some reason, when you read that today, it seemed like a lot. It's
only going to get worse.
All right. Well, hey, I'm allergic to bees. What else is in the news?
Get a gorilla couch. Trump administration's floating a new idea to get more homeowners to sell. Did you see anything about this, Pete?
No.
Cut capital gains taxes.
Oh,
now,
Kristen will move right now. Kristen's out.
She's signing a letter to her politician right now. Maybe the music festivals in DC. She's going to tag team that. When you sell your primary home, generally exclude up to $250,000 of profit from your taxes if you're single, $500,000 if you're married. Pete, those limits haven't changed since 1997.
Okay, sir. So the holding period here is 2 years, right?
Correct.
So if you're if you're in the house for less than 2 years, then you don't get that exemption, right? You don't get that idea. Do we really think the problem is people aren't moving enough? I appreciate any effort or idea to try to solve a housing crisis.
Yeah.
I struggle to think that the motivation here is people can't move enough.
I tend to agree. I don't think this would have a significant impact on new inventory hitting the markets because people suddenly decide they want to move and they're not just going to sit in that house until they die and then give their kids stepped up basis on it. They can do whatever they want. I do think it's interesting as an experiment, though. You know, if you're in it within a certain range, you get the standard $250,000 or $500,000. If you're in your home 10 years or more, especially in high cost of living areas where you have significant real estate appreciation, that maybe that gets bumped up to a different tier, and maybe longer in it, you get a bigger and bigger bracket. So if a family's been in a family home for 30 or 40 years, you know what? No capital gains. You've been in that long enough. If you want to put it on the market, go for it. However, I'm sure there are plenty of people that would say, well, those are the people we need to get taxes from because there's going to be significant appreciation there. Keep your hands out of my pocketbook. Keep your hands out of my pocketbook.
Yeah. Gosh, we're really loading you up today, pal. How do you feel?
I've got a presentation after this. They don't know what they're getting.
Oh, you better take some St. John's wort or something. We've talked about this on the show. Sometimes there's really complicated issues, economic issues, social issues, cultural issues, that as people are giving their perspective on how they view it, they'll, hey, this is really simple. No, it's not.
No.
Like, this is a really complicated issue. So, like, Dave, you kind of nailed it there at the end. Number one, 250 grand or whatever in capital gains exemption, probably not enough for these people who've been sitting on properties a long time. Number two, I don't think it actually is going to motivate anyone any differently, because you're going to move if you're going to move. Number three, to your point, the budget deficit gets worse with this idea. Does it make Americans' lives better? Well, in the short term, but in the long term, you just are more subject to the fact that our government is trillions of dollars into debt. Complicated issue.
Yeah, with a massive spending problem.
Let's see if we can wind you up on one more news story that makes your biggest point today.
Oh, let me see if I've got something here. No, we're just going to have to go with a different one. Americans are sitting on a massive pile of cash. More than $3 trillion currently sitting in retail money market funds, near a record high. Pete, that's interesting. Investment advisors are hoping they can convince their clients to do something with that.
I saw that story, or an allusion to that story this week. Like, that is hard for financial institutions to make money off of you when you're just in a money market account. And so, huge upside opportunity for financial companies there if they can get people out of money market funds.
Yeah, people just have felt so comfortable in money market funds when they were getting 5% for so long, that now that they're back around 3.5%, it could be really costly to leave money in a money market fund if you don't need to.
So when interest rates do go down, investing in those financial companies could be interesting. Anyway, sending you good vibes, because good vibes are all that's in the budget. This has been the Pete the Planner Show. I'm still Pete the Planner. Boy, now how about that piece of investing advice right to end the show?
Sorry. This is for information purposes only. It's not the Swiss financial planning device. Consult a financial advisor.
The financial divisor is my favorite part of that.
Yes.
Hands down. Well, Kristen's out at Woodstock or wherever she's at in the mud. Don't take the brown acid. Is that how that goes?
It's something like that, yeah.
Just picture Maggie out there with her in like cowboy boots in the mud.
And headphones.
Yeah.
I
think Kristen's a woo person at a concert.
It's a great question.
I think I'd bet the house on that one.
I don't know. I don't think she is.
Andy asked a really good question. Has my courtyard flooded yet? No, it's actually well graded.
Mm-hmm.
The pond that I fish in near my house, it is spilling.
All the fish are escaping.
Maybe. All right, Dane. Well, this is this. Number one, for as much as you had to talk about the thing that upsets you the most, you really held it together today.
I think I did an admirable job.
You really did. All right, you've got other things to do. I apparently do as well. Everyone else, you've something to do, and that is called Stay Getting Money.